right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Monday Open. Of course, welcome to a new week and a new absolute random piece of news of the weekend, which, of course, is that we now see even more stuff going on in the US presidential race. And that is having, probably not as much effect as you might think on the markets. Obviously, they are moving up in terms of greens. But in today's video, we'll be talking about everything from stocks to commodities, to cryptos, and of course, a little bit on the US dollar as well. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope everyone's ready for the big earnings season kickoff because, of course, we have Tesla and Google coming out this week and many, many others. And we've still got what is pretty much a thrust market. So that means we've got the Whaley thrust, the 777, and we know that when we tend to see those, it is kind of still a overall bullish market. But there are some bearish undertones. And one of those actually has to do with political races. You might not be aware of this. I'll bring this up in the next video. But actually, when you don't have the current elected president going for it, then that tends to actually have a little bit worse second half of the year. And in particular, of course, the last 2 weeks of July being slightly negative or neutral isn't helping things. So we'll talk about this rally that's coming through here today and whether that has legs in it and the negative gamma situation. 5510, 5500, and really anything down in here. If we were moving lower, that would have been excellent buy zone today. I didn't not expect to buy the dip coming off 5500, 5510, but I would have loved to have seen a 5470. That would have been absolutely stellar from the day traders. Mohammed and Stephanie Haydar, thank you very much for becoming a new member before we joined up. And let's give a shout out to Clace, Baal, TX Redman. What else we got here? We got Mark. We've got Frank, Andy, K-Debs, Thomas D, Wayne, Ben, so many others. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll go through everything very, very soon, guys. How was your weekend? Was it good? I hope it was. I hope you're ready to get into this week because I think it's going to be pretty exciting. And which stock are you looking at? Here's a question for everybody. Which stock is the most important one of the week? Which TA do you think matters the most this week? Let us know, and I'll just load up a couple of things. Here we go. Okay, a few people coming through with NVIDIA being their most important stock of the week. Some people saying it's Tesla. Some people saying it's silver. Not sure if that's a stock, but yep. It is. I guess it's important to look at the metals. All right, let's go into the 2 hour here. We just need to break down S&P to start off with. So we're getting into kind of that 1 day expected move on the upside. Now, this is, of course, where the market believes 68% of the time the market will remain stuck within. So as of Friday, you had kind of down here as the low, up here as the high. And it just so happens that the high where we are right now coming in at 0.73% gain positivity wise, that's actually where the supply is. So 55.60, of course, this is a theoretical area where you might see a bit of a bear bust. And we do need to be wary. CTAs started dropping positions last week. So I'll load up the CTAs. Let's begin with that. NASDAQ, huge CTA sell-off. Now, we don't know exactly what happened on Friday because, of course, we're always delayed. But CTAs did dump on that sell. So CTAs were dumping, and they were doing it both through the NASDAQ and through the S&P 500. So this is important because, of course, we've seen sometimes CTAs lead. And what that has often meant that if the rallies, that we might be actually seeing false rallies or drop back. So I think gap traders, for the first time in a while, might actually want to be paying attention to this market. On the call end, of course, we don't really have any calls really in today's market. You can see here that 55.10 and 5500 were where we thought we'd find the dip buy. And we don't really have a huge amount of calls. We are in a negative gamma style situation. So if the market did start to plow lower, then it could create like a cascade effect effectively. So yeah, we'll be watching all of these things. But anyway, US 500 opening up here at the res. May be worthwhile having a look at SPX. So one thing I always like to do, guys, if you're trying to trade S&P, is that you load S&P SPX, which gives you the gap close, so 55.05, and you would want to mark that in your chart. So here's the mark, and that would basically be for 55.05. So we'd mark that in, and that would therefore give us where it's possible that the market might want to fall down if it's going to do a gap fill. So we open at resistance. Do we have any signs of sell yet? No. If it breaches through this resistance, then starts to pull back, maybe that's all we get. It is possible. Though I tend to believe that weekly 20 moving average is probably where we're going, which is 5,300. 5,300 is one of the most logical targets for this market. So I feel like it's going to do a bit of this, then maybe get to 5,300. If it does get that, I think with the 7070 breadth thrust, with the Whaley breadth thrust, with everything else that we've been seeing in financials and home builders, I certainly wouldn't be terrified. And I don't think I'd be terrified if I was an investor or someone with a longer term thought process on this market. What do you guys think? Do you reckon it's bull or bearish this week by the end of the close? Let us know in the chat as well. I'll read a couple of these comments. We've got here Hood Coin coming in from Ravi. Google says humble hiker. Larry says GLW puts. Hood Coin, most important for 44. Probably in those stocks, maybe bullish, I would think, because those are actually decently bullish stocks at the moment. Tesla coming in several times. Few people looking at the Hang Seng, SoFi, AMD, Coin coming up, NVIDIA. And a lot of people saying bear week. Okay. Yep. And Tesla will fly after ER, says Barbara. All right. Well, anyway, key levels to look at for the US 500 this week. We're going to be putting in 5,600. So make sure to mark that out. I'm just going to write these all down. Right where we are right now as a potential bear bust zone. So this is 55.50, 55.60. The buyers, the biggest dip buyers, are going to be sitting in between 54.40 and 54.70. So those levels will absolutely be the two top ones. And then if the market is able to get through 5,600, I think it'll be a new high and the markets will just continue to resume up. I have a feeling there's more left in it, and I'll explain it through the VIX. So to me, the VIX usually gets us a 20. So if we actually go through and we look at history, we know that VIX, volatility index, this tends to give us a 20. And it's given us a 20 in pretty much all of the minor and major pullbacks over the last couple of years, and it usually does. And we haven't seen that yet. We've just seen a 16 so far. So because it's a 16, I think there could be more left in it. What do you guys think? More than that? Do you think a 20 is going to be hit? 20 usually is a good sign of at least fear coming into the market. And right now, fear is still relatively low. We also know that if we look at a VIX convexity chart, so that is what VIX is expected to do, we also know that the market is expecting volatility into October, crescendoing in October, and then coming down into the US election. And it was always projected to start back end of July. So far, so good, I guess, from that. But yeah, there is technically more, according to the market, coming in terms of volatility. Will it show? We'll have to look at the price. But I would be watching those key levels on US 500. If we end up giving up 54.40, I think that's bringing weekly 20 moving average. And I would be looking at that point at 5,300. And that would pretty much time in with that data we had, which was the last two times we had similar points where the Dow was finding a new high and the NASDAQ was dropping 2% in a day. It usually meant that we led on to a 5% plus move. And as we found out, they were actually almost 10% moves to the negative side in both cases. So there's a great medium long-term bull case here. My belief is that we've still got more to run on these markets. But there is also that little short-term, maybe there's a slightly bigger dip to come through. And I usually would play the odds of do a bit of day trading, do a bit of swing maybe. If you get lucky enough to see 5,300, look for the turn there over the next coming months. And I think it could be just more we watch the VIX and look for a 20. Now, would I drop my investments? Personally, I wouldn't, but that's up to you. Of course, you guys have got to make decisions here. Gin Time says here, August, September, sideways / down. Yep, I would see that going that there. And JB Sen says, Tom, the GOAT, back with another video. Thanks very much from there, JB Sen. Appreciate it. And 85% today is up. Yep. So we saw that pretty much we could have guessed that based on the options. Those 5,500, 5510s there. Sylvia says, can anyone help me how I can figure out one-day expected moves? You've got to use the options market, and it will tell you how to do it. You can look up how to figure out expected moves, but I wouldn't bother single calculating them. There are plenty of tools out there to do it. Calculating it each day is a pain. Big Beautiful Snowflake says, in my opinion, it's too early to see the second major market correction for the year yet, especially since it's not clear if Harris will be the nominee. But you've got to remember that's what brings the fear. Remember, the markets hate the fear of the unknown. So if you have, let's say, a known, one of the worst things actually for the markets will be a clean sweep of someone, because that could actually affect so many different variables, to tax changes, to everything else. You'll find that markets actually do the best when no one really wins, when it's effectively a gridlocked political system. Why? Markets can project it out a lot more. They can figure out, well, everything that's already there will be the same. So we're kind of consistently looking at a similar growth trajectory, and they use that with their algorithms and obviously push it through. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but I would say it made sense for us to see vol earlier, and this may be the vol. Maybe there's a little bit later, maybe it's September, October, but it'll never be where most people expect it. So most people are going to expect it November, October. Generally speaking, you'll get it earlier. And of course, with a 53% bull read, I'm not sure if I've got it up here, but where's that sentiment one? There it is. So this one here, 53% of people were bullish. So that's a huge bull read. Historical averages 37.5, 53% bullish, 23.8. This is going to look so different this week. This will explode. I wouldn't be surprised if bears are back over 30% as of what happened last week. And yeah, the whole thing switches. And of course, if bears start to really get up and the VIX goes over 20 and we hit some of those key levels, to me, it's going to be a huge turning point. So something to watch in the markets. And I always say, like, you need to find those opportunities. Patience, react, and predict. If the market starts to go up and you're not in it for whatever reason, then it doesn't matter. You can go and look at single stocks. There are plenty of different sectors that go all over the point. Now, speaking of sectors, let's have a look through the markets. So we'll move over here. We'll go rapid fire through a few things. US oil. Now, it's hit the target that I had for it after we saw that shocking fall off last week. So as soon as that occurred, the chance of it going here was incredibly high. And for anyone that's on a short, obviously you've hit your targets as of pretty much the time of this recording. 78 a barrel is a perfect target for this. It's coming in incredibly aggressively. Now, I've been talking a little bit about energy stocks long, and we'll have a look at those in a moment. Because, of course, they're showing a little bit of catch up to what was a very nice oil pickup. But I think day traders in particular and scalpers are going to be super interested in this level. So what a level for us to find ourselves at here early on in the week. I'd suspect there's a buyer somewhere here, but it's way too early to tell. That is coming in like a steam engine. Now, that's leading into energy stocks, obviously coming down here pre-market at about 0.5, but that's nowhere near as much as oil has fallen off. And in general, remember, when you look at oil price, you're not looking at the future of oil. So you will want to, whenever you do oil price, guys, look at crude oil futures, and you want to be looking at, sometime in the future. So let's say we go to the January 25 contract. It's down, but maybe it's not down as much, or maybe sometimes it is. And what you'll notice is that most of these contracts are coming down to around 61.8 fibs. So they're all hitting very key levels. But when you look at the code like US oil, it's a blend of all of these. It's not actually the futures contracts of 12 months away or something where often stocks do trade. Yeah. SPX rejects beautifully off the 1618 fib. I do like me a 1618 fib for sure. And Ben says Roku is 87% down from its highs at buy time. Well, Ben, I hate that stock. So I usually say it was never buy time, but we'll check out we did see a nice position in Lemonade the other day. So that was a stock I never really much loved. Let's go through a few others. We've got also copper falling off a cliff. Now, this is twofold. One, to me, it's telling us that we could actually really be expecting rate cuts here, because copper is falling off, showing economic collapse to a degree. This is a worrying sign, but with ITB and KRE and XLF and all of those going to new highs, I wouldn't be too worried. But copper flew through this point. At the moment, it's just on a cliff face just dropping off. And as I always point out here, this is why you've got to have that patience to react. Do I like this zone? Yes. Would I change this? No, I think it was still a key level for us to have on, just like I reckon oil is. But guys, this is where we have to look at it. It doesn't have a turn. So copper still weak for now, it is weak. There's no turn. I expect a bid to come in. This thing is super oversold now, but that doesn't mean it has to at any point. So you might expect something, but if it doesn't happen, you don't have to trade it. So copper been very, very weak. And originally I would have thought we would have got much better buying off here, but we just didn't. And that's what happens in trading. This is a trade. You have to have a stop loss. You have to have, well, at least, some kind of cut point. And this has certainly not triggered towards the upside. So copper down pretty heavily. Gold, on the other hand, holding pretty nicely. If you look at a weekly, it looks absolutely shocking. So a lot of people are going to be calling Wyckoff beginnings this week on gold. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people are saying this is a UT or a UTAD style drop off on gold. I'm saying that's a bit early to call yet. And I'll actually be looking at the weekly close. But to me, I'm still very bullish on gold over a 6, 12, 18-month period. And I'm watching to see how this ends up, because there will be a very nice trade. We got some great trades in gold long. I believe there'll be even better trades coming up that will be prepared over the next coming weeks. So gold might be a little bit of a sloth for now, but we saw that big breakout of GDX. For some day traders, you're back at a big support level, 20 moving average daily, anchored VWAP low. This is the type of area that I would usually look at if I was trying to force a trade. And that's at that zone today. So we're looking for that. A few people want silver. Silver was a bit weaker. So that obviously went through here, which is where I suspected we might have found a buyer. There was actually a decent day trade in there that I thought was replicable towards buying. You might be able to say, okay, head and shoulders towards the downside once you break this down, 2 hour, 4 hour, all those timeframes. But it's back down to the support. I wouldn't be surprised to see silver a little bit lower first, hit into 28. Originally, I had planned this to go to 28. So my plan was originally 28 buy, 26.50 look towards buy. That was my plan. That were the levels that I liked. It stopped earlier. It bounced in a really nice weekly way. It looked really strong, by the way. I know better than to just go all in on silver. I'm tending to go more for the stocks than the actual metals at the moment, because the stocks are so far behind the metals. So they've actually held much better. But for now, we're at support. I would not buy a falling knife like this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 down. That's not good. We don't like that. Do you guys like silver here? You buying right here on the dip? Let us know in the chat. Mike says, NVIDIA capitals. Yep, we'll do it. Mark says, thanks a lot, Tom. No worries, Mark. And Rick says, can you have a look at XME? So obviously the metal sector. We'll check it out soon. Seedless Green says, at least we won't have to worry about cognitive decline anymore. Well, I guess that is one part of it, yes. Though I'm guessing the market will like Biden stepping down and helping Trump to win, says Thomas. I have no idea whether that's the reality or not. I don't really get into it. Generally speaking, I just look at the data and the stats. So just remember, it doesn't really matter necessarily who's in. The market actually performs pretty similarly. It mostly matters whether there's complete sweeps or whether there's more stagnation. And that is one of the most important stats to being able to project out, especially to the mid-cycle of a presidential run. That's one of the most important things you want to be looking at. Let's move over to NASDAQ. So nice bounce off here. This was certainly at the best looking support leading into this week. And it's done some good work, obviously creating another uptick. And similar to the S&P, where do we find ourselves? Right at that first supply zone. So right at the res as we open up here. If a bear is going to come in, this is around the right point, or 19.9. And this is the same thing as US 500. They're showing exactly the same levels. So again, some negative convexity came in. This is certainly the easiest area for most people to say, I'm going to buy the dip off. So why? Because it's so obvious and so clear. And I can see why someone might want to do that. Even semis looked like they've kind of come to some key levels, such as semiconductors versus SPY. But you do need to remember and put it in context, this is still a very aggressive candle at the end of last week. And remember, CTA's dropped. gamma went negative. These factors, at least for a short-term trader that's looking at next like few weeks to months, I wouldn't 100% ignore them. They're different to some of the other pullbacks that we've had that have been much easier, instant buy the dips. And it kind of suggests to me that while I believe in the bull runs completely, and I still think that there's more to go, there still could be, little bit of false rally drops here. I still want that VIX 20. VIX 20, you'll hear me say it a few times. I'm pretty used to seeing a VIX 20 over the years. You can go back and test it, and you'll find you generally do see this. JB Sen says IWM all-time high before or after the election. That's an interesting question. I don't really speculate that way. It's a bit of a waste of time to me. I guess I would say usually depends on whether the Fed do a cut before, I guess you would say. So, yeah, I guess before would be what you'd go with. To me, it's just all about price action. Our opinions don't mean much. So what we need to do is we need to say, okay, what do we know? Last week, we were super bullish on Russell. And what did we say? In this exact live stream with 800, 900,000 of you guys out there, we were really bullish on this. And, it's been... it's been a really good run, and we expected 2250 and we got 2250, and I'm really happy with that run. I expected weakness there, and that's what we've seen. So yeah, to now, that was the most likely move last week. We got it running through. If we close above 2250, or you can see here, I've got a 24 kind of 30 target. That would therefore be pretty much saying, okay, well, I think we're getting a new all-time high. So if we get through 2250 and we close, I would say we're going to an all-time high. At that point, I will know. And this is a huge difference, guys. When you have a statistical likelihood of the next move, so someone might say, hey, what do you think about this projection? All right, you ask me, and I ask you guys this in the chat. What's your target? Okay, let's go October. No, we'll just go July. No, I'll go October because I know what I think by October. October 2025. S&P 500, what price? Give it to me, guys. S&P 500, what price? Let's be soothsayers. Let's get the wisdom. You need to get the crystal ball out. Little gleam on it. With the crystal ball out, and we are going to predict the S&P 500. What's your prediction? Give me the price. Thoughts on semis? We'll check it out very, very soon. Don't worry. Roku is Tom's all-time favorite. Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. We got some predictions. We got 7,000. Is Chris cheating? We got RC 6,000. We got Alexei 4,500, 6,000, 10,000. Mitch is wild. Igor 6,000. Joshua saying 7K. Mikey Meza saying 6,900. By the way, give it an upvote if you do enjoy our content. It's really awesome to see so many of you here. Sup fellas going 6,500. Okay. Chaz 62 to 63. Samuel 7,200. And Greg Spicer. Greg is he's like the trolling us, guys. Oh, here's a big bear. Greg coming in with the 15,000. Wow. I thought you meant 1,500 for a second there. Okay, you're a bull. You're a massive bull. Victoria 6,000. A lot of people 6K. So 6,000 and 620. That's the low of like the GFC. So to me, it'd be 6,950 to 7K. So 6,950, 7K, October next year. But that's actually based on data. So it's not based on my, soothsaying ability. I just have, enough models to say that would be the most likely target. So it's kind of like, yes, I guess in some ways that the gold will hit 3,000, but it's based on data. It's based on previous cyclical models, just like I would expect cyclically that S&P 500 would hit 6,950. By October of next year. How accurate would I be? I'd say I'm better than a coin flip on that. But funnily enough, if you go bullish, guys, you are better than a coin flip like 60 plus percent of the time, 65% of the time easy with that type of call. So you're actually doing it, being the big bear and getting that correct, that is much more difficult than getting a big bull and getting it correct. So 6,950. Have we been looking at US oil today? Yes, Frederick, skip back 10 minutes. We've gone all over it. And we looked at energy stocks as well. So anyway, my prediction, the point of all of this is that I sometimes know where something will go with more certainty. A few weeks ago, we picked Tesla. 2 weeks ago, we picked AMD and Intel. They're all very logical conclusions. 4 weeks ago, I picked Hood, and I had a very good feeling about that based on our technical momentum-based analysis. 2 weeks ago, we called that we were very concerned about the US 500 high due to every single indicator under the sun being super overbought. And in fact, we worked it out that 2 weeks later, it would drop. Funnily enough, it pretty much did that. And it all played into the stats. Now, some of those are excellent trade positions because you can take and make money from that edge. Some of them may not give you edge. This is, US Bitcoin, massive call the other day. Incredibly easy trade to me. Incredibly easy trade. Bitcoin was one of the best trades that I've seen in a while towards the squeeze because everyone was so bearish. It was climbing the wall of worry. We love the wall of worry. So if the market closes above this zone, I think that the chance of it getting here is actually well better than coin flip. It makes sense. Now, could it be blah, 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 all the way to there? Yeah, it could. But again, from here to here becomes more likely. And that's what you're doing as traders, guys. That's what I teach over at fxevolution.com. That's what I've always believed in. And, I've found that patience, remember, temperament's the most important, and reactions to position-based trading, where you find the flow and then you have edge. And what you'll find is that most people on the internet, most people in general, when you first start, hands up anyone, you'll all say, I think it will move over here. And you'll want to make these predictions. The key is, though, and of course I cover 30 pairs a day, so I'm not going to be right on most of them, is knowing when you have what you believe is statistical edge. So last week, I believed that we would have statistical edge to 25 to 250. It's not actually as easy a trade as you think, though, because the only way, what asset class would have been best to take last week's trade if you were coming in here last Monday and you saw this, or the week before that, because that's actually when we were, well, actually, no, last Monday. It was last Monday. So last go, US 2K, 2250 over the next 2 weeks. That becomes the likely scenario. What instrument would you guys use? Here's Jeff. Jeff, definitely a member of our club. And Jeff saying, I hope it will go there. I have found out that hope in markets is not a strategy. Yeah. Hope is definitely not a strategy, not something you want to be looking at. So, this is where, US 2K, becomes very likely to go to this point. It's just like US oil was very likely to hit what it's just hit today. 78 a barrel would have been my call. Pretty sure I said it on the weekend videos. Becomes very likely. It doesn't mean it's an easy trade because you need to probably use an option in this case, or a very levered contract that's actually got very tight stops and hope and pray that the flow keeps going through. So, you don't have a great stop loss. I mean, if you put a stop loss in the safety area, then what the hell is this? This move from here to here sucks. You might think it's good, but it sucks because you've got a terrible risk reward ratio. I mean, you're a loser long term. You're going to be a loser, guys. We don't want that. So yes, we want to always make a big one here. Spot will miss, Tesla will hit. That's easy, says Barbara. There you go. Barbara's making some predictions out there, guys. Now, this is a great question from a Lope. I want to answer it straight away. It's a question I get a lot. And it says here, how did the S&P 500 climb to a high without the money still in money market funds moving in? So this is a misconception by most retail traders that they expect money market funds to actually go into the market. If you have a look at money market funds during the global financial crisis and before, you'll notice that a lot of people were still stuffing into money market funds during that period of time. Remember, markets climb the wall of worry. They don't require the money in market bodies fund, or they actually lever off that. So what you're really looking at is, well, is there leverage in the market? Yes. Is it increasing? Yes. So do we need the money markets fund money to go into the US 500? Absolutely not. What you'll find is a lot of money is drained out of other world markets and gone into AI and innovation and concentration. So yeah, I wouldn't ever fall into the narrative of the money markets fund. It's not going to help us. Let's keep moving through. We've got our gold. Obviously, we've done silver. we've had a look at these markets, the NASDAQ being the strongest today based on its very solid foundation base. Few of you guys want Bitcoin and crypto. So we obviously very bullish on crypto. I continue to be very bullish on crypto. I do believe there will be a pullback at some point, though you can never, it's climbing a wall of worry. A lot of people have missed out on rallying this thing. I don't think it was easy to rally down here, by the way. I just think it was easy to rally here. So this is where I rally it. I wouldn't rally it down the bottom. It wasn't unless I was just buying the dip and I had a hold and I was going to invest in it. I mean, it got very close to my target, which was 52, 51.5. But yeah, I think we're going to a new all-time high. Bitcoin, when? Next month? Again, I think doesn't mean it's an investment strategy. But from here, this is when you have statistical advantage. So stat advantage is different to, I think, or I believe. This is where you have stat advantage, and then you use price action to proof what you believe is coming next based on, again, your overall pattern. So obviously, if this clears the high, it can continue to climb the wall of worry for quite some time. There's a lot of shorts that are trapped here, and a lot of shorts that are trapped here that are getting squeezed out. And that's why you're getting this aggressive move. So whenever you get a move like this that's quite aggressive, then you usually do have a lot of shorts trapped and people going negative on it. Tesla is a classic of that. Tons of shorts that are trapped in here, and then they get absolutely squeezed out. And it's kind of similar to GameStop in many ways. Solana looking clean. Yeah, quite a lot of cryptos are. We'll just have a quick look at a few cryptos. So we'll load up Solana, so Sol USD. For the first time in a while, cryptos have actually come into the focus. So we've got a beautiful double bottom base here on Solana, looking very, very good, already quite strong. Then you've got this on top of that very strong move. Great weekly close. I do pay attention. You might say, well, they never close, no weekly, no daily. They do, though, because as humans, we segment weeks and we segment days. So remember, New York close should be your pretty much your close percentage. And you'll notice here that we have a double bottoming style base in the direction of trend. That's pretty good. Another one would be like Chainlink as well. Looks quite strong. So if you look at Link USD, and we will use, I don't know which one's the best here. So many links. Use Coinbases, I guess. You can see if we go to the daily, this has also started to play catch up. And a lot of the alts have. A lot of the alts have been, flirting with the idea of, oh, look, it's an inverse head and shoulders. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. They've broken. People don't know that's the demand. That's actually, this is not breached until this level is dead. And this level is certainly not dead here. So if anything, there could be shorts that are trapped, and Link and other alts could be pushing forward. So a lot of these looking a lot better here. So where's the highest statistical edge you see this week? Oil to 78. Well, oil already hit 78, so that wouldn't. That was definitely decent statistical edge. It doesn't mean it was an easy trade because you would have had to have just gotten on it short. There's no pullback. You just basically have to say, I need to go down to this price. And then, I'm waiting for a turn at that point. So, yeah. HSI, we'll check it out in a moment. Can we have a look at Crowd, please, Tom? Yeah, we can certainly do that. Is the audio glitching? Shouldn't be. People struggling with the audio? Has it been going bad? Let me have a quick look here and see. No, it should be on decent internet. Audio is glitching? Audio is fine. Okay. CRWD, CrowdStrike. Let's have a quick look here at CrowdStrike. So again, this is a position, of course, in the news last week by losing pretty much half the world of internet. And okay, if it's occasionally glitching, I apologize, guys. Not much I can do about it if it's going through bad, but it shouldn't be. It's not on the internet, it's something else. So anyway, Crowd here, you'll notice back at the support, and then it's finding weakness here today at 289. Now, this is not really a great trade. And what I mean by that is it's dipping for valid reasons. It's, of course, going to lose some clients, and there'll probably be some lawsuits against them coming out and stuff. It's a great company. I've liked it for a long time. I do think that this base though is a kind of it's a very tough buy. Does anyone actually want to buy it here? I mean, to me, it's just way too risky. There's no real U-turn yet, and I actually don't like trading these ones that are heavily news based and everybody's looking at them. I find the best trades actually happen when no one cares about something. The best edge happens. So when everyone's looking at something, unless it becomes relatively clear that there's a clear path that not many people are viewing, this is actually a very tough trade. So to me, it's difficult. But what does the chat think? We'll read some comments here. Europe says, nope, too many incoming lawsuits. Roman says, Crowd is still overvalued anyway. Yeah, by a lot of metrics it is. And Crowd short the bounce. Again, is there edge there, 8 lunch? I mean, to me, there's none. PG, Arc bought it, say no more. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, so Crowd is, I think, a very, very tough position here. More of just a guess and therefore not really worth it. And this is unfortunately, the problem with trading is that everyone wants to talk about this stock, but this stock's unlikely to actually make you much because it's going to get you your money trapped in bad kind of more gambler style positions, and that's not what you want to be doing. Let's keep moving over to a few others. We'll go with Tesla first. Of course, earnings coming up in only a few days. This is a tough one because if we look at the weekly, we have the long leg doji, we have the slight rejection. We're still stuck within the range of 233 and 265. We know that 265 plus should trigger quite a lot of buys. I would say that Tesla is a patience and react more to the earnings than predict them. There should be a decent momentum trade. One choice on the downside would be a 208 to 210 level if it goes bad. And on the upside, if we get a 265 plus clear, I would think we're going towards 300. So there's a momentum shift here as we coil. And this is happening exactly where we would expect a pit, which is a pullback in time, right in these levels. So that's exactly where we've got it there. Yeah. What stock is no one watching? PayPal. Yeah, PayPal has a decent setup on it. I spoke about it last week. It's actually gone bad for a day or two. But yeah, I like PayPal's setup. I think PayPal, decent support, decent fib, obviously 61.8 golden pocket, nice-ish turn. Needs to find a bounce today. It is finding a 0.5 this morning. But if it's going to go, this is around the right level for it to do so. So let's have a look at the top time frame. You'll notice here, PayPal, really, really decent zone for it. Terrible weekly close after having 2 nice weeklies. Like, I really like this. Of course, last week, ugh. But if the markets can stabilize, it still looks pretty good. Another one that I still like is Hood. I'm still a bit of a fan of this. It's not done the best weekly, but still hitting a series of higher highs and higher lows on the daily. I'm not really too concerned about it until it gets under 2086. So still benefiting from crypto, benefiting from, in general, trade volumes starting to increase and a few things like that. I want PayPal to fail and fall to $50, says Sal the Bell. I know it's only small caps. Oh, Wayne, we can't do it. Small caps. PayPal is very well valued, says Roman. Yep. And Discover Yourself says, good morning, sir. I have Baidu, JD, Baba. Is it time to give up on the China story with regulations coming back? Regulations coming back? Do you mean tariffs coming back? Well, firstly, you know what I think about Baba. I don't like Baba. But we'll just have a look at the HS story in Tencent because that's really all that matters. I don't give up on the China story. I don't really feed into particular narratives of, oh, China is weak or something. We've known that for 18, 24 months. The market is tanked. The market is heavily shorted by big institutions. And we saw the result of those shorts getting squeezed out recently over here. Then what is normal is you get hype, okay? And when a market gets hyped and everyone starts talking about it, you will get a drop. Think about where we were just a few months ago. Copper was the hotness. Gold was the hotness. Before that, Bitcoin was the hotness. What happened on the crescendo of the Bitcoin ETF? It's a miracle. It's a miracle, guys. And then the Bitcoin ETF comes out, and yeah, there's been flows, but it hasn't exactly lit the world on fire. So remember, the narrative sucks and the price action is better. And I hope that everyone here that's watching these videos, that watches our streams, that watches everything we do, you start to realize this stuff, guys. This is what changes the game. Narrative is a waste of time. Joshua Burns says everyone is losing their jobs, can gamble on stocks. That's good for Hood, says Joshua Burns. Yeah. So look, are we at a 61.8 fib? Yes. Would I have expected last week before last weekend for Chinese stocks to have started really ramping? I actually did, very much so. And of course, the whole Trump situation with the bullet and the shooter and the tariffs and stuff, that certainly sends a big negative message. The market tanked off. It's sold down into a new low, and it's starting to find a little bit of recovery. But as I've said several times, I look towards the leaders. One of the leaders of this market is Tencent, and it had a decent little turn on it today. So it fell down after doing the nice rally. That looked very good, by the way. And then now it's had this nice little turn. I'm not sold on this being over yet. I think it's got legs. Remember, everyone hates it, but I don't. What do you think? I think the last two sessions have not been that bad for the Chinese stocks, frankly. I moved 10% of my portfolio into PayPal last week, says Seedless Green. Oh, good luck, Seedless. I hope you do well. PayPal sucks. Their service has become terrible. Yep, but that's your opinion. So it doesn't matter. Are you investing in PayPal? Tubed out. Are you trading it or are you investing it? This is where the retail trading herd mentality sometimes comes in. Let's just say you bought it here, okay? I'm not saying it's the greatest price or anything, but let's just say you did. Where would you place your stop loss? This is the chat. The chat will come up with the stop loss. Chat, you come up with the stop loss. I'll read some comments while we wait for it. Tubed Out says, I've been in China. They are 1 bazillion% in a recession, a lot of unemployed people. But again, the markets know that. Remember, the markets don't look at right now. They look at where they will be in the future. Let's look at some facts here. Heavily shorted market, monstrously shorted. The Chinese market has gone in and completely changed the regulator. Last time they did that, you bottomed the market. The Chinese ETF started to become bonds. The last time we saw bonds being the new popular ETF in China, it was the bottom of the market. Okay. These are just types of things you see. Has price action improved? Yes. Is it climbing potentially a wall of worry? This is how you get yourself out of recession. You don't see in the news, great story, guys. Everything's fantastic. You see the worst. The other day, look at Meta. Meta was getting destroyed. The worst earnings they've had in years. They fired lots of people, and that was the bottom. Tesla, just the other day, terrible earnings, horrible earnings. The stock went ballistic up, and since then has actually done quite nicely. This is why most people lose. PayPal, what is the stop loss, guys? I want the stop loss. PayPal 57.29, the tail there. So 57.29, so somewhere around this 56, 57 bucks. Okay, yep, fair enough. 53, that would certainly be quite conservative. And stop loss 56-ish, TP 65, all out 72. Yeah, so let's just say you were doing PayPal. Do you have to like this stock? No. Is it better you hate this stock? Yes. Why? Well, you're not really biased towards the upside, are you? You hate it. So if you see a technical setup that you like and you hate the stock and you take a buy and you have a stop loss, does it really matter whether you like the stock or not? That's a trader's mindset. An investor's mindset is you must have confidence in your position because you have to hold it through dips, through rips, through more dips, and potentially through a recession. So an investor should always ask the same question. I love this saying, and it's from Warren Buffett. If the stock market closed, for 10 years tomorrow, would you be uncomfortable with your positions in your portfolio? And if the answer is yes, then you probably don't have good investments. Joshua says getting HSI in January and having some cushion was key, or removing a position at the scalable scale out zone of just before 20,000 and then waiting for it to pull back. That's also key as well. All right. So anyway, we've done that one. We've gone over some of the major indices. We've got about a little bit less than 15 minutes here to go until the market opens. Let's have a look at the earnings season for this week. So, as we know, the big storyline is going to be Tesla and Google, which is on Tuesday. We also know a few other things. Banks so far kicked ass, really did pretty much what we expected. Record earnings, great earnings, good lending. I'm actually seeing here in Australia, just got an alert just before. There's now new fixed interest loans that they're starting to float. Actually floated these before the global financial crisis, and they're offering significantly reduced rates on the variable rates. In Australia, it's a little bit different to overseas. So each housing market's a little bit different, but they're starting to lower interest rates to allow you to borrow more. So they are wanting you to borrow, debt, debt. Keep getting the debt. That's what they say. So banks, love and life. I think it's toxic, but it doesn't matter. That's what happens. And yeah, everyone's eyes will be on this. So we've covered Tesla. Let's have a look at Google. One of my pillars, one of my three favorites. Remember, NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, traditionally my three favorite stocks. Let's go through to the Googles and see whether it's been doing very nicely. It's actually been super undervalued for quite some time. And it's still a little bit undervalued, though way less than it was over here. And it's pulling down. So it's doing kind of nastily. It's coming back down. Now, I've noticed that most of these mag stocks, they're pointing towards further downside. Is this really the best buy zone? Not really. It's like in the middle of nowhere land. So I prefer it go to like a 170, 165. Not sure if it'll get there, but yeah, for me, that's kind of the zone that I would like to see on Google. And there's not much holding it here. The market has kind of gone up, it's come down. Yeah, it's a bit of structure, but it doesn't really seem like a fantastic dip buy. If you got especially a 170, then at least you're in a bigger level. And of course, a lot of people are going to say, well, I want my 155 or whatever it is, 160 kind of gap fill. That's also possible, but usually a weekly 20 moving average is what I like to see on a big rip run like this. And at this stage, we're not quite there yet, but we are underneath the daily 20s. And I think whether you look at it, Apple is on the daily 20, the strongest of the big stocks at the moment. Amazon certainly isn't. Microsoft certainly isn't. Again, scaled underneath the 20. NVIDIA, which we'll talk more about in a moment, that's underneath the 20. We expected the weakness here. I have got my key bull zone still sitting at 109. But I actually like anything 109 to 120 on this stock. I feel like it's all pretty good in there for the arguably best stock in the world at the moment. And then Meta, it looks like pretty horrendous. It just looks like I don't know what it's doing. Up, down, all around. Slow pickup here. So, yeah. Always buy the dip on Google, says Fabian. Yeah, it's not too bad. Still holding NVIDIA, sold exactly 3 trillion market cap. So it depends what you're trying to do. I mean, I obviously believe, and I've said this several times, that we've got another, I don't know, 100, 200, 300 plus days on the market. I kind of believe that at earliest we might October crescendo next year. So from the signs that I've got, financials, home builders, I mean, what else do we want to throw at this market and say it still looks like a debt-fueled hell pit that's going to go up? I mean, I'm not really negative on the bubble. I mean, the bubble has not, in my opinion, shown the signs of technical burst yet. And usually it gets wild. And of course, on the Daily Show, we'll talk about this in the future when we see it, because there will be some wild action near the end. And I know it's been wild up, but yeah, market cap is important to consider. I like the fact that you're paying attention to the market cap. But yeah, I still think there's more to come. I do. Let's move over here to NVIDIA. Again, I would love to see this. Why? Because we'd have that weekly 20 moving average and we'd have our anchored VWAP sitting there as well. And we found the anchored VWAP very good last time. So I really would like a 110-ish, 112 on NVIDIA. Semiconductors, if you look at that, weekly 20 also makes a lot of sense. And that's a very negative candle. So it suggests, because it closes on the low, there could be more to come. Of course, this one closed at low, wasn't more to come, but at least it was actually at a decent buy zone. This is like It seems like the middle of nowhere. You guys agree? Is it in the middle of nowhere? It just seems like the middle of nowhere. Like, what is this? Is this anything? It's not even filled the gap. It's nothing. I don't know. It just seems like, DCBs, like a lot of dead cat bounce style plays here. What are we seeing is money going from big tech to small caps and other sectors. That's good. Yeah, correct. And we're seeing thrusts across the board, which is really good. So that is exactly what you want to see in markets. We can actually check that out together. I've got it here. So let's have a look at the sectors. So this is 1 year run. So you'll notice clean energy is down 49.1%. Solar is down 43. Agriculture is down 13. But of the major kind of most considered markets, we've got semis, home builders, communications. They're actually all up in a big way. Of course, this is actually quite healthy and not scary. Because you've got to remember these two market sectors, while I include them, they're actually not really a major part of the US market. They don't matter that much. They really rely on government funding because most of them lose money. And agriculture, well, that's definitely concerning, but it came off a pretty big high. Is NVIDIA a double top? Yeah, get that one a lot. A lot of people calling it a double top, which is, this is just semiconductors, but basically it's doing this and breaking through. Yes, technically it is. I don't tend to pay as much attention to double tops as I do double bottoms because remember the market is quite bullish. So yeah, I mean, it again suggests that this is the possibility, and if you took that distance being A and then extrapolated that out to B, that would. I mean, it works. I just don't know. A good example of a double top that failed is Bitcoin. That's a double top. It actually went underneath and it trapped everyone, and now it's ripping them. So yeah, just be careful about double top analogy. Picking the top off a double top is not often the top. Carrot says Qs are insane right now. We don't use the word insane, Carrot. It's not that bad. 1.3% rip. You lost more than that 2 days in a row last week. So you have to expect a rip that comes into the supply. And then the question is, can it continue ripping? So we are at that supplies zones. So now we see when it opens whether we get a gap fill or not. Like it could be I think bears on the open, which is in 4 minutes time, are going to be paying a lot of attention to the first 1 hour of trade. Because as this opens, yes, we held the low. We've now got quite large gaps to the upside, 1.3%, 0.74% on the S&P. And a lot of people are going to be looking for gap fills because the trend is actually at the moment a series of lower highs and lower lows. And it still is actually in a downward trend. Is coin breaking out? We'll look. But coin is a good proxy to, of course, Bitcoin. And it's just a different way of doing it. A lot of people do it with options or they use like a coin miner. Yeah, this looks quite nice to me. I've liked the price action for a little while on coin. I particularly like the weekly 20. The reason I put it here is you'll notice the weekly 20 has been quite good. Great weekly close. To me, it looks quite strong. Yeah. And certainly a stock that, I mean, it looks strong. I can't hate on that chart. You've got pretty good strength. You've got great turn trend. You've got great weekly close. It looks like it wants a new all-time high, or new high, not all-time high. We can't ignore its IPO. Who bought over here, guys? Does anyone remember? Who bought this? Who paid $400 for the stock? Was it you? Or was it someone else? Do not buy IPOs. S-Bucks double bottom. Yeah, we've been talking about this in our free 7-day trial, Market Masters Club. Yeah, I quite like S-Bucks this week. Excellent weekly close. Looks pretty good. Nate Moa says, yes, I think coin looks amazing. Coin looks pretty good. It does, and it doesn't really care about the rest of the market. And I didn't know that, Cadell. Yeah, it's Kathy. Kathy loved the 400. It was at this point that I stopped really paying any attention to ARK-K at all. As soon as I saw that, I went, the ego. The ego has claimed that, people. Absolutely insane. anyone that's been around Wall Street and has any information ever would know that IPOs that come in super hot have terrible track records. You can model them. They're terrible. Terrible. Facebook, Twitter, Dropbox. It doesn't matter. They're all crap mostly. Hood, this thing. When they come in hot, they always drop. When they come in hot, they always drop. That's usually the key. Yeah. I need a shirt. When they come in hot, they're always going to drop. Look at the DAX. Yeah, the DAX has been ripping pretty well, 1.5%, driven probably by financials predominantly and SAP. That's good. But let's have a look at Starbucks. I don't really want to trade the DAX. The DAX is just a weekly 20 move. Let's have a look at this Starbucks move, because anyone here drink Starbucks? Yeah, I did drink quite a lot of Starbucks in America last year. That was the main coffee, I guess, I found until I went to New York, and there was some good coffee there. There's actually a couple of Australian people there that made coffee. It was good. Down in Wall Street too. I was like, guys, you know what's up? I will admit, I think Australian coffee is much better. Even though it's not from Australia, we have pretty good brewers. Here we go. We've got the open, guys. We're coming in 0.8% on the S&P with a big gap. We've got 1.32% NASDAQ up. Decent gap up. Obviously, both at res where you would expect the bulls, or the bears, I mean, to be. S-Bucks, I really like this one in the weekly close. Looks like a tweeze to the upside. Incredible strong buying near the close. I would like to see it pull back. In fact, I wouldn't mind a inside bar here and then rip up, and that would be okay. But look, I think weakness here initially into hopefully strength would be the way I'd play Starbucks. Certainly an interesting point. I try not to go to Starbucks unless I'm in a pinch. Yep. And I've boycotted them until they bring down their prices. Yeah, it was kind of expensive. Starbucks is dreaded. Downtown Toronto is much better. Yeah, but that's not US. What do you think about Indian stock market? I think the Indian stock market was the best market to be in a few years ago. I think that India is poised to be the possible next superpower of the world with demographics and some of the things that are going on. I do like the market's obviously a big winner on the global stage at the moment in terms of manufacturing and stuff. But I think the price is too high. And I have a feeling that the Indian stock market will collapse in a big fall and be an excellent buy in the future. But it is nifty 50, etc. Very, very strong. All right. So we've got here the movement. Yeah, a lot of people use 5MA. I used to use 5MA. So the 5MA moving average is a pretty common one. So the 5 and the 8, pretty common. It's okay. I think you'll find the edge is not that great on it, though. Yeah, so US 500 supply hit first up. A little bit of rejection off this. I don't think that's a surprise. We actually hit the one-day expected options move immediately on open. So you can see it's actually reacting off that. This is the high of the expected daily move. So most of the time, the market would expect 68% of the time it would stay between this boundary and the bottom boundary. And that, again, may help some shorters to try to come in. I'm not surprised to see selling here. It's not actually an easy sell because, well, it's an easy sell if you just short and put a stop above here or here. But is that really a long-term winning goal? I usually like to see a bit more structure coming into the event. So I don't think there's probably a trade for me there this morning. But if I had to guess, I'd go with possible gap fills would be on order. Starbucks and it tanked. The market is oversaturated and people loyal to it think it's status symbol. Yeah, I don't know about Starbucks there. What do you think about AMD? Check that out in a second. They left the Australian market and the managing director of Australian operations literally said the local customers were too sophisticated for their coffee. Yeah, they came back a bit though. But yeah, I would absolutely not drink it over here. I remember when it opened, everyone went there. It was like lines out the door for Starbucks. It was like Krispy Kreme when it first came to Australia. Oh my goodness. There was one Krispy Kreme and in Melbourne, where I live, Melbourne, as Americans say it, and everyone would drive to the Krispy Kreme and get it. And I'm like, bro, it's not even that good. Like, why are you going there? And yeah, Krispy Kreme survived, but Starbucks did not. Yeah, so AMD got crushed. We were very bullish on this the previous 2 weeks, pushing it up into the first TP. If it had closed above this blue line up here, I feel like it would have been super strong. This is an absolute crushing. I cannot buy AMD here. It's an absolute crushing. I do not like this at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's probably oversold hard, but I don't have a bid. And I like to see patience. I want to see a reaction. Where the hell is the bid? It's the right point to get a bid. You might be able to buy the dip and get lucky, but I would want to bid on this price before we keep moving ahead with it. It's just too risky there. 2 to 3 stores left in Sydney. Yes. Thanks very much to the over many thousands of people that tuned in today. Much appreciated. You should visit India, Tom. Yeah, I've got plenty of friends that have done it. I've gone to most Asian countries, but there are still signs on the economic database that say that there's some good strength there. I think Roku is a buy going into earnings season. Let's have a look at Roku. We looked at the major two, Tesla and AMD. And Roku, I would say the daily is not too bad. Probably need a 66.77 plus breach to really get excited about it. And the trend is most likely, it's actually had a couple of good technicals. We liked it over here at 54 last time. Yeah, I would say like a 66, 70. I'll set an alert above here. If I do get an alert above there, I would seriously consider it. And remember, I hate this stock, but I also hated Zoom back in the day. I thought Zoom was the worst stock in the market. It was the worst. Anyone that's an OG that would be watching this video from years ago, oh, I hate that stock so much. Hate Zoom. Rightfully so. The stock sucks and it's in the ground. But we still traded it a few times and did all right. The dope stocks are ripping, says Kevin. Nando says, the Indian street food videos tell me all there is to know about visiting India rather than the lack of will. Okay. Very demotivating. Interesting. Roku is a buy because my 4-year-old son keeps buying movies and subscriptions on my Roku. That's a good tell. That's a good tell. If they've got one of those systems that kids can buy, or accidentally we allowed kids to buy it, then it's usually a good tell. So to give the lie of the land today, guys, we've got dollar kind of floating around nowhere zone, copper and US oil. Copper's actually fallen through the major first support. US oil has hit it, and we'll see whether it can find a bid today. Tesla's up big early here, 3.56%. That's probably the biggest winner of the morning in the major stocks. NVIDIA and a few others bouncing. We've got most of the major indices all at reds or supply. So US 500 between 55.50, 55.60 is first initial supply. Then 5600, 5610 is the next res of the week. And NASDAQ is pretty much right on it. So you'll notice here, if we go down 2-hour time frame, you can actually see that we're pressuring that high there. And of course, we could go to 19.9 if we really wanted to go up. We've got gap fills. So that suggests that we may come back down and get a cheaper price later on. What about gold? Yeah, it's at kind of like a weird support here today, but I don't think there's much edge on it at this point. I'm still bullish, medium long, but day trade, I don't see much. Tesla is about to get smashed in their earnings result this week unless Elon comes up with another lie. Well, it depends. I mean, I don't know what the market wants from it. Again, I don't really fall into the spec like that. I just say, well, if we break certain zones, we should get flow. I want flow. We all want flow. We look for flow. And when we get it, guys, we take the flow. Some of the stocks we looked at today that we liked, we obviously liked the look of PayPal to a degree. I've been actually a pretty big fan of Gilead recently, or Gilead or whatever, Gilead, however you guys say it. Zscaler, still bullish on that. Hood, still bullish on that. Starbucks, strangely, looks better than you would think. And there was another stock before, even Roku. If it could get that breakout, could be quite nice. Coin was really nice. Liked Coin before as well. That had a great technical on it. Again, these are suggestions. You go and do your own technical analysis. Make your own decisions. These are just what we're seeing on the charts. NASDAQ, as I mentioned, first res. We'll see if it gets a second. We're looking for a replicable trade here, and we don't have an easy one this morning, other than to try to go for a gap fill. And as you can see, right now, that's not working. So you need a replicable trade, and we're in the zone. I mean, this would be the most traded level. So right here on the S&P, it just hit it just right then. It's pretty much just hit it. So 55.60, it's a very important level. Thoughts on snow? I think it's still down in the dumps, and I don't really see too much movement. We'll look at two more stocks to finish up here. XME, which is metals market sector, still relatively strong on the weekly. It's obviously playing a lot with this high, still making a. You could argue there's a possibility of a shorter coming in here and trying to weaken this off. I mean, I'd still go with it's a bullish overall trend. Yeah, a bullish overall trend. I wouldn't re-enter a trade on the XME though. LQCN says, I believe the Indian and Chinese stock markets will be the biggest in the long run. Or it's maybe by the time I'm dead. Yeah, sure. I think that the US market's got some more legs in it yet. Remember, you always want to chase why every single person here, pretty much, if the market, I ask you all this question, tomorrow, every market drops 40%. Which one are you buying? Be honest, which one are you buying? Every market in the world drops 40%, major index. Which one are you buying? Am I going to buy the ASX 200? I don't think so. Which one would you buy, though? Kramer just said Starbucks is a buy. It's over as it started. Wayne says all of them. You can't do that, Wayne. You have to only pick one. What was the other question I wanted? PLTR. The old Palantir. Palantir. It's very strong. And it's hit the TP zone, first initial. I really like a series of higher highs and higher lows and consolidations. It's all got the great signs of a stock that wants to eventually reclaim this and keep going. I mean, I like it. I just feel like it's at consolidation zone. So maybe like this and hopefully then long. Weekly 20 seems pretty consistent so far at a good clip. So I would say weakness or sidewaysness for now, and then hopefully get a nice breakout past my 2860 zone. And once you get that, pretty good. All right. So most people are saying US every day of the week. Totally, man. And we'll do one more here. CrowdStrike is a quality stock getting punished. Let me know when we should consider an entry point. Well, you have to find a bid, and we don't have a bid. So at the moment, we wouldn't do anything. Let's go to TLT. It is a great stock. I've liked it for years, along with Cloudflare, but yeah. Treasuries, not much change here. So Treasuries up 0.47. It's not a trade. I'm bullish on it over the next 12 to 18 months or even 12 to 24 months. But I could see it doing absolutely nothing for a little bit until we start to get a change in real yield expectations. If every stock market dropped 40%, I'd be funding a banker to hide in. But my point is, if it all dropped, you would buy the US market. Most 99% of you would. Jason says, I will buy the ASX. Get yield support. 40% discount would put banks on 1% yield. I think you mean way more than that yield. Thank you. No worries. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, there's some of the stocks that we like today. We'll follow along this week. Thank you so much for watching. I will endeavor to get much earlier videos out this week for the East Side Coast. I know you guys have been struggling in the comments watching it. I do really appreciate your likes, your comments, everything like that. It does help me to keep going with the show. So make sure if you enjoy it, just click it every time. That does help out. Really enjoy these Mondays. Looking forward to doing them a little bit more often and bringing hopefully some better content and some other things that you guys want to see. But for this week, I think keep in mind, we've got a 7070 thrust, a Whaley thrust. That is a long-term bullish indicator for the next months and year ahead. I'll keep putting in the show like that because that's what it is. So you shouldn't get terrified. You should just be thinking about the stats. Yes, we might see a bit of short-term weakness. Yes, it's possible we'll get a 10% pullback. It's possible. But I wouldn't worry too much about it because the rotation here has been supreme and the banks have been supreme. And you cannot ever look at the banks and say, wow, these things are going up. And that's, the market's sick as a dog. Really? Why are these banks going up? What this shows me is deregulation and the beginning of a horror show. That's what it shows me. But yeah, it's good times keep going until it begins the horror show. And that's how we always want to follow it. Also, thank you very much for the people that have been giving me some reviews recently. I appreciate it, guys. The ones that did the course and stuff. I appreciate that. And we'll go from there. All right. You have a great week, everyone. Fantastic to see you. And for anyone that's in Melbourne, especially, or Sydney, we will be doing an announcement soon. We're going to have a bit of a catch up where we'll go through some, I think, incredibly groundbreaking, incredibly exciting information to share with you guys about our forward projections for the markets and some other little tidbits. And they, I believe, will be free to attend as well, which will be amazing. So if you're in Sydney or in Melbourne, look forward to that. We'll be announcing it soon, and we'd love to see so many of you guys there. So if anyone's in those particular areas and you're staying up to 11:44 p.m. on a Monday night, like a bit of a nutter like me, then yeah, well, I'd love to see you guys there, and it'd be great to catch up with the Australian community, and hopefully we can do it in the US as well, in the UK, and maybe some other places in the future. So that's a little bit of a thank you to you from us, and we'd love to see you guys there. All right, very good. Catch you for now, and we will see you next Monday and at the close of today to have a chat about how this market's looking. Bye for now, guys. See ya.